Well, thank you again to the trumpeters of the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery. I'm delighted to say we're moving now to the first car of the next group, and this is a 1957 Bentley S1 lightweight sports saloon, brought to us by Dr. Michael Berendes. Thank you, Michael, for bringing it. And this is one of the most elegant and aristocratic motor cars of its era, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, designed with luxurious long-distance, high-speed motoring in mind. The Series 1 cars continue to be powered by Bentley's well-tested 4.9-litre six-cylinder motor, as used in the R-Type Continental before it. And these motor cars glide to their destination in a nonchalant and unstressed manner, and this exceptionally rare variant of the S1 was dispatched to H.J. Milner for its magnificent sports saloon bodywork, to be crafted entirely from aluminium rather than partially in steel like the standard S1.
And a mere 27 received this special bodywork as it was enormously expensive, apparently a staggering 66% more than the standard car, and they are considered considerably lighter as well. This car has numerous bespoke features, including a driver's seat mounted on extended rails for a taller driver, semaphore indicators mounted in the B-pillars. I'm looking for those. It has also... the car was fully restored in 1993 and 2000 and remains in absolutely exceptional condition. A wonderful looking motor car. Thank you so much.
Dr. Berendes, thank you very much indeed for bringing it. Thank you.
Next up, we have the 1959 Porsche 356 T2A Coupe from a private collection, and the 356 was Porsche's first production car. It was equipped with a four-cylinder air-cooled motor mounted in the rear of this instantly recognizable and timeless design. During its 15-year-plus production run, the 356 was built in 4 series, as well as in both cabriolet and coupe configurations. And this special example was delivered new to the legendary record breaker Donald Campbell CBE. It was specified in mice and blue with red leatherette as presented today, registered WXY3 by Campbell on May the 10th, 1959. And just 4 days later, Campbell broke his own world speed record over the water, recording 260.35 miles per hour at Coniston, but would sadly, tragically die there 8 years later, attempting to break his own record again and crashing at over 300 miles per hour.
Now, in 1965, the car was acquired by Frank Maysfield Baker, who in 1969 was elected the mayor of Brighton, and it remained in his family for 56 years. The car was totally restored prior to the sale to its current owner last year, and remains highly original and looks magnificent. Thank you very much for bringing it. And next we have this 1960 Aston Martin DB4 Series 2, brought to us by Rob Short. Now, DB4s are considered by some to be the connoisseur's choice among 1960 Aston Martins, especially the Series 2, with a deeper air intake reminiscent of the DB4 GT. With its purity of line, open headlights and touring superleggera construction, it differed from the Series 1 in a number of ways, such as opening rear quarter lights and the bonnet hinged from the front rather than the back. Series 1 and 2 DB4s can also be spotted by these cathedral rear light clusters, and the DB4 was the basis for the race-bred DB4 GT, as well as the revered DB4 GT Zagato.
And only 349 Series 2 DB4s were built, and it paved the way for the DB5, of course. Performance was more than a match for its looks, with the 3.71-litre straight six producing 240 brake horsepower, and the Vantage producing even more. This particular car was delivered new to Sid Green, who was a well-known character in the British racing scene and who made a name for himself being the last, despite having only, being fast, I should say, despite having only one arm. He lost the other in an accident, aged just 16, but raced nonetheless, changing gear with his right hand and steering with his thighs if need be. So, or perhaps his left hand, I would say.
So
thank you.
Steer with your thighs and on you go. Thank you very much.
Good luck with that.
Well, next to this 1963 AC Cobra 289, brought by Martin Emerson.
And looking very dapper indeed, sir. The British engineered AC Ace was highly successful as a sports car with a chassis designed by the great John Togero. but for Carroll Shelby, looking to build the ultimate sports car, it lacked a bit of muscle. So muscle it got. Martin Emerson came along. No, Shelby installed the 260 cubic inch small block Ford V8 into a modified AC chassis, and the fearsome AC Cobra was born in 1962. It was to become one of the most iconic sports cars of all time.
Fitted with a 289 cubic inch Ford V8, which is 4.7 litres to you, Peter, producing 271 horsepower. This is a highly original 1963 Cobra Mark II, of which just 528 were built. The Cobra had an incredible power-to-weight ratio and was a fearsome and highly successful race car. An original American market example finished in Vineyard, this car was sold by Shelby American to Pennsylvania and has been thoroughly enjoyed throughout its life, including by the current owner, who's driven it through France, Spain, Switzerland and the UK, covering 90,000 miles in 19 years of his ownership. Well done, Martin. Thank you for bringing it.
Thank you.
And next, ladies and gentlemen, this 1955 Ferrari 250 GT Europa by Pininfarina, brought to us as part of a private collection. And the first series 250 Europa took over from the 212 Inter and shared the same chassis as a 375 America. First revealed to the public in January 1953, the 250 Europa was Ferrari's first true Grand Touring motor car, demonstrating that the company was willing to produce cars for well-heeled customers who preferred to drive their cars on the road rather than on the track. And these sales were used to fund Ferrari's racing endeavours, of course. The Ferrari 250 name was awarded to an array of different Ferrari models, both competition and road, but this model is where it started. The common denominator is the entire 250 series of Ferraris is the engine capacity of 3 litres in a V12 configuration, in this case fueled via triple Weber carburetors.
And the second series GT Europa, or Europa GT, used the new, more compact Colombo-designed 3-litre V12, replacing the Lambredi design, which was a much bigger block. It was styled and built by Pininfarina, who were to become Ferrari's leading coach builder, and features, of course, the classic oval egg crate grille, which would set the trend for many other Ferrari sports cars. This example was delivered new to Dr. Enrico Wax, who was Italy's distributor for Johnny Walker Whiskey, Connolly Leather, and Moet and Chandon Champagne. A regular customer of Ferrari, he purchased a new bespoke Ferrari every year between 1950 and 1974. It was discarded in a workshop for around 60 years before being sold to its current owner last year with just over 33,000 kilometers on the odometer. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, it's important to note this wonderful original condition. You can restore a car many times, you can never recreate originality. So it's wonderful to see this car in this condition, and it sounds like it drives pretty well. So thank you for bringing it. A wonderful example. So next, ladies and gentlemen, we have this fabulous 1953 Bristol 404 Coupe prototype, presented by Nicholas Gatehouse. And by the end of the war, the newly formed car division of the Bristol Aeroplane Company was ready for series production. And by the autumn of 1946, Motoring Journals carried road tests on the Type 400 saloon, a 6-cylinder, 2-litre engine Bristol. Fraser and Ashford held the rights to BMW's race-proven 3-8 engine, and this 2-litre, 6-cylinder engine would be used to power all Bristol cars up until 1961. And the Bristol 404 was Bristol's first short chassis sporting 2-seater coupe. Dubbed the Businessman's Express, the 404 excelled at providing high-speed travel in comfort.
As you can see, highly distinctive with many styling cues from its Bristol aviation roots. They were very expensive to produce, and just 52 were ever built. And this is the original prototype of the 404. It was instrumental in the development of Bristol's flagship car of the time. It features numerous unique features, most notably its distinctive vertical aero fin. The car has recently been subjected to very sympathetic restoration work with great focus placed on maintaining as many of its original components as possible. Thank you very much for bringing the car, Nicholas. Thank you.
That's a pretty special aero fin on the back, isn't it? Really, I love that.
I'm not sure it makes any difference, but it looks fantastic.
It really does indeed. Fins were popular in those days, actually. D-type shoes.
And this is a 1966 Aston Martin DB5 V8 development prototype, brought to us by Brian Webb. Now, Brian, you've got somebody in the car with you. Who have you got with you in there? Well, this is Bill Barnard. Bill Barnard is in the car. He was the original design director for the car, so great that you're here. And this is a very historically significant Aston Martin. It's the car that was used to develop the V8 that later formed the backbone of the marque for over 20 years. Using a DB6 chassis but clothed in the body of a DB5, this car has countless unique features. It's longer than a standard DB5 by 4 inches and wider at the rear to experiment with a De Dion rear suspension setup. The engine bay was enlarged to fit the V8, the transmission tunnel significantly altered. Aston Martin's finest minds and engineers, one of whom is sitting in the car, all got behind the wheel to put the car through its paces, including Tadek Marek himself, and it's noted in logbooks that the testing regime comprised of 300 miles per day.
And I guess a bit of parve along the way. After a period in retirement and in the hands of Aston Martin enthusiasts, where it was also raced, R.S. Williams took stewardship of the car in 1999 and restored it to exacting standards as presented today. And in January 1969, the project was deemed to have been a success and the car was retired. And the DBS V8 was launched in the same year. It spent a considerable time in storage until it was unveiled by Nicholas Mee earlier this year. And it really is a very, very special piece of Aston Martin history. So we're delighted to see it here today. Thank you. And hear it. There you go. We can hear your V8. Thank you.
So
64, that might help us a little bit.
And this is the 1933 Delage D8S by Le Tournier Marchand, brought to us by Raphael Pueche. Tell us about it, Peter.
Well, Delages epitomised the chic elegance of the 1930s. A beautiful car from one of the most iconic pre-war French brands. Delage enjoyed an incredible rise from its conception in 1905, from just 2 lathes and 3 employees. By 1912, the business had 350 workers in a bespoke factory building 1,000 cars a year, so some progress there. By the 20s, Delage was building the D6, and this, the D8, beautiful luxury cars combining luxury and performance and, of course, good looks.
Definitely, and this D8S is powered by a 4.1-litre straight 8 producing 145 brake horsepower. It was dressed by Le Tournier Marchand, the Paris-based coach builder, famed for their work on Rolls-Royce, Minerva, Hispano-Suiza, in the bustleback style, with a low, rounded coupe greenhouse, narrow windscreen, and a seemingly endless bonnet. And it's one of just 4 in this style, and one of only 2 surviving. So, Raphael, thank you for bringing it. This gorgeous 1933 Delage D8S.
I love those proportions. Long bonnet, high wheels, high wings, low roof. It's just so sinister yet beautiful. So the final car from this group is, last but not least, the 1972 Fiat Dino Spider 2.4 litre, presented by Andrew Seward. Fascinatingly, these road cars came to being when Enzo Ferrari wanted to homologate a V6 engine for Ferrari to use in Formula 2. And so he turned to Fiat to build the car, as he simply did not have the facilities to build 500 engines in a year. And so they were powered by the same all-aluminium V6 engine as the Ferrari built Dino 206 GT, the first examples. And the bodywork was styled, of course, and produced by Pininfarina.
The Fiat Dino Spider debuted in October 1966 at the Turin Motor Show and was later revised in 1969 with the new 178 horsepower 2.4-litre engine. The same engine fitted to the Ferrari Dino 246, although the Fiat is around 100 kilograms heavier. The 2400 Spider you see here is the rarest variant with just 424 built. And with understated and chic styling with notes of Italian flair, these are extremely desirable and usable motor cars today. So thank you very much, Andrew, for bringing it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, something quite different coming on stage. It's the 1976 Lamborghini Countach LP400 Periscopio, presented by Stephen Bell. Most Lamborghinis are named after famous Spanish fighting bulls. You knew that, didn't you, Richard?
I knew that.
But the Countach was different. The word comes from the Piemonte dialect, the word Countach, which means wow, or amazing, or perhaps even mamma mia. Designed by Marcello Gandini for Italian styling, for his styling house Bertoni, Gandini also designed the Miura and the Diablo. It was the first production car with vertically opening scissor doors, and the Countach evolved constantly over the car's 16-year lifespan. And this car is an early LP400, and so lacks wings and spoilers, so much more pure in its design, allowing us an uninterrupted view of the beautiful angular lines. And thank you for demonstrating your scissor doors there, or are you just hot?
Now, it's known as the Periscopio for its unique rear view mirror in the roof. And it's powered by the legendary Bizzarini designed V12. The 4-litre unit in the Countach produces 370 horsepower and propels the car from 0 to 52 miles an hour in 5.4 seconds and onto a top speed of close to 180 miles an hour, simply astonishing for the time. And this car is one of just 10 right-hand drive UK specification cars built, one of only 2 in Giallo Fly Yellow with a tobacco interior. So, Stephen, thank you for bringing the car.
Thank you. So what followed the Countach? What came before it, I should say?
Yes, I think that's what you meant. There was this 1971 Lamborghini Miura SV brought to us by the Lake House collection. Now, if you were a rock star in the late 60s or early 70s, there was only one car you had to have, the Lamborghini Miura. Miles Davis owned a Miura, so did Frank Sinatra, so did Elton John, and so did Rod Stewart. The Shah of Iran was a Miura owner as well. It's sinister, voluptuous, brutish, and elegantly, seemingly all at the same time. The Miura was the definition of cool. It was penned by Marcello Gandini for Bertone. The Miura is actually a contemporary of the Ferrari 275 GTB, with quite a change in configuration.
And they were produced, Richard, in 3 variants during the lifetime of the Miura: the P400, the 400S, and ultimately the SV, or also known as Spinto Veloce, as this example here. The SV is the final ultimate version of the Miura with an increased output of 385 horsepower, lots and lots of torque, but distinguished by the wider rear wheels and more muscular stance. Distinguishing difference from the previous models, also most notable, is the lack of eyelashes around the headlights. Just 150 SVs were built, and most importantly, the soundtrack of that Weber-fed V12 behind your neck, accompanied by the velvet vocals of I think Matt Monro singing his bus driver music, powering through the mountains. This car was repatriated in 2001 and sent for a full restoration. It was discovered that the car had covered fewer than 10,000 miles from new. It presents beautifully. Wonderful colour. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Something a little bit different. From 1908, we have the Dirac SS Corsa, presented by Stefan Dirac. Beautifully driven, Stefan. You're not at Le Mans now. Dirac & C was founded in 1896 by Alexandre Dirac after he sold his Gladiator bicycle business. Dirac & C produced its first four-wheeled car with an internal combustion engine in 1900, and Dirac was sold as of 30th September 1902 to A. Dirac & Company Limited, an English company with a substantial, but it remained substantially owned by Alexandre Dirac. Dirac won the 1905 and 1906 Vanderbilt Cup at Long Island, New York. Dirac & Co. also won the Cuban race at Havana. At one time, the marque held no less than 7 available speed records. And in 1919, Dirac took over the English Talbot Company, and the resulting company merged in 1920 with Sunbeam to form the Sunbeam Talbot Dirac Group.
And this particular motor car was built in 1908 and is an evolution of the 1906 model first seen at the London Motor Show in December 1906. By 1936, the car had been sold to the grandfather of the current owner, who used it on the family's country estate in southwest France until the outbreak of World War II. It's been passed down the generations, and the car is a valuable and treasured family heirloom. And here's an interesting fact for you. In 1953, the delightful British film directed by Henry Cornelius, Genevieve, featured a 1904 Dirac as its centrepiece, and the film sparked an increase in collecting and restoring vintage automobiles. Stefan, thank you for bringing the
Go for it, Stefan. I know you want to. Come on, give it the beans. Lap record.
Next we have a beautiful motor car. This is the 1964 Alfa Romeo Giulia TZ1 by Zagato, brought to us by Michael Malone. As the 1960s dawned, Alfa Romeo realised the need to keep the Milanese marque's name to the fore in international GT racing. This led to the birth of an entirely new sports racer, the TZ. Designed from the outset with competition in mind, the result was the Giulia Tubolare Zagato, or TZ for short. Built on the Alfa Romeo Giulia GTA, the TZ1 was purpose-built for racing with a multi-tubular space frame chassis wrapped in lightweight aluminium bodywork by Zagato, styled by Ecole Spada.
The nice Italian accent there, Richard. The TZ1 is incredibly light, weighing just 650 kilograms, allowing drivers to make full advantage of its highly tuned 160 horsepower engine, complemented by all-round independent suspension and four-wheel disc brakes. The TZ was capable of 134 miles per hour, thanks in part to its advanced aerodynamics and this small camtail at the back. The production TZ was launched at the Geneva Motor Show in March 1963. Ferrari star Lorenzo Bandini gave the TZ a victory on its racing debut at Monza in November that very same year. And this car is one of only 112 examples built and remains highly correct, original and purposeful. Show us its purpose. You look like you're ready to.
We had the pleasure of seeing the TZ speeding around the mountains of North Wales early this week. It looked magnificent, and I see that the mascot has been removed for the concourse. A long story.
They don't have toll roads in Wales, so the sliding windows are okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we have a wonderful car, the 1965 Ferrari 275 GTB 6C by Pininfarina and presented by Colin Bullock. The 275 GTB was unveiled at the Paris Salon in 1964. Ferrari's 275 GTB is arguably the most beautiful and usable of all classic Ferrari Berlinettas. Its long bonnet, swept-back screen, covered headlights and Barani wire-spoke wheels complementing the stunning good looks. I'm just making sure this isn't on different wheels. And this is a much sought-after six-carburetor short nose. The 275 GTB short nose is one of approximately 60 examples produced, and this desirable specification between 1964 and 1966.
And it's powered by a 3.3-litre Colombo V12, producing 320 horsepower, mated to a 5-speed transmission. And this car is one of 18 right-hand drive short-nose 275 GTBs and is fully Classiche certified. Now, for the purist, the short-nose GTB model is often seen as the most beautiful, with its purposeful, muscular stance, although no doubt many might argue otherwise, but we don't. We love it. Colin, thank you very much for bringing it.
Thank you. We also have a different steering wheel in the early cars as well. You see that slotted steering wheel.
Now, this is something different again. What a gorgeous car. The 1930 Cord L29 Broom, brought by Sean Cody. Errit Lobben Cord was the saviour of the Auburn Automobile Company and the patron of Duesenberg. Not satisfied with that, he went on to establish his own eponymous company. Here we have a dapper example of the first major American motor car to offer front-wheel drive. This allowed for a much lower roofline than its rivals, resulting in a beautiful, long, elegant motor car. An innovative design with inboard brakes and power from the 298 cubic inch straight 8-cylinder motor. In early coach building parlance, a broom was a broad term signifying a closed car for 2 or 4 persons. In later forms, often with an open front driver's compartment in today's terms, this is one extremely handsome Cord.
Of the cars built, only 10 of these are broom body style as seen here. Placed into storage in 1942, the car was recovered in 2007, and despite 65 years of storage, it remained in remarkable condition. A full restoration was nonetheless undertaken, and it has since won numerous accolades, including finishing third in class at Pebble Beach in 2017. So, you know, complimenting our wonderful selection of American motor cars today. Thank you so much for bringing it.
Thank you, Sean.
Front-wheel drive, of course, which is quite unusual on the car of that stature and proportion. So, ladies and gentlemen, next we have a 1936 Bentley 4.25, 4.25 litre Derby Bentley by Veth and Zoon. It's presented by Michael Dacre and family. What's happened to your jacket, sir? You look so... Oh, you got too warm. Okay, well, anyway. We forgive you. We forgive you. Another beautiful example of the sophisticated silent sports car, this time wearing unique coachwork by the historic Dutch coach building firm Veth and Zoon. Veth and Son, in fact, which is translated to, was founded in 1840 in Arnhem, the Netherlands. The company started with horse-drawn carriages before building bodies for Spyker, Rolls-Royce, Maybach, Bugatti, Bentley and MG. And in 1914 they obtained the status of Hofleverantia. Is that pronounced any good? I don't know. Anyway, it will do.
Shot,
yeah, good shout. Official supplier to the Royal Dutch family. Dutch royal family. The company still exists, building commercial utility vehicles, ambulances and such like.
Allegedly, this car was inspired by Mercedes at the time, as the first owner was enamoured of their profile, but admired the Bentley's refined engineering prowess. And after the Second World War, the car was purchased by a US officer and taken to the US, where it resided for 46 years. She returned to the UK in 1992 and has been regularly enjoyed ever since, having clocked well over 100,000 kilometres. The car is a testament to Bentley's engineering and durability and, of course, silence, so don't shout about it. And also, Michael, winner of the Bentley annual Concours of Elegance, so congratulations. Thank you for bringing the car.
Thank you. The silent sports car, whispering away.
Now, here's something we all admire greatly, and that's not just the driver, that's the car. This is the 1968 Ford GT Mark III, brought to us by Mr. and Mrs. Gary Bartlett, who is a personal hero of mine, of course. The poster car of a generation. Just 40 inches in height, hence its name, capable of well over 200 miles an hour. The muscular GT40 was developed with one single purpose in mind: to beat Ferrari at Le Mans. And it did. Ferrari won at Le Mans 5 times between 1960 and 1965, but Ford had their sweet revenge by winning the next 4 with the legendary GT40. Born out of the success of those Le Mans winning GT40s, the GT40 Mark III was designed solely for road use and featured a detuned version of the 4.7 litre V8 that had powered the Mark I GT40s.
It had numerous changes, such as a more civilized interior. You feeling civilized in there? You feel quite civilized in there? Just hot, okay.
Just warm.
Well,
it's always warm in England, Gary, you know that.
No, a more civilized interior, gear shift moved to the center console rather than the right-hand sill, and the option to have the car in left-hand drive as well. However, the end result was enormously expensive, costing over $18,000 new, which was significantly more than Ferraris and Maseratis of the era, and was even $2,000 more than a racing spec GT40. As a result, only 7 of these cars were built, and this car, chassis 1103, was purchased new by none other than Sir Max Aitken, the known politician, newspaper mogul, and offshore powerboat racer. But more importantly, it's now owned by Gary Bartlett, our great friend. So good to see you. Thank you so much for bringing
Gary.
the car. And go and cool off. In the pond, if you like.
No, don't do that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the final motor car of this group is the 1967 Ferrari 330 GTS, presented by Sarah Allen and co-piloted by Nigel Allen. The elegant gentleman and ladies sports touring Ferrari in spider form, 300 horsepower from its 4-litre Colombo V12, 5-speed transaxle transmission, 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds, and 150 miles per hour. What more do you want? Well, maybe a beautiful Nardi wood rim wheel and fantastically polished Pirani wires. for today. A very sophisticated, desirable and usable Ferrari, and one of Ferrari's prettiest convertibles.
And this particular example was displayed at the 1967 Torino Motor Show and was shown at several motor shows before being sold to Jamie Wyeth of Pennsylvania. The car was brought to the UK in 2017 when Ferrari collector Nigel Allen, currently in the passenger seat, gifted the car to his wife Sarah, very much in the driving seat. Having been resprayed in Rosso Corsa, the car has recently been returned to its original shade of Azzurro Metallazzo by Ferrari specialist Bob Houghton. An absolute jewel of a motor car. Sarah, thank you for bringing it up. Good to see you both. Thank you, Nigel.
We